the Celtics are for sale.
Mm-hmm.
And I happen to have a bunch of information on this because this is a huge, huge topic right now in the circles of people that would want to buy a team. And there's a bunch of stuff going on. I don't care about being aggregated on this because I'm right. The league wants $6 billion for the team, for the Celtics. $6 billion. They don't own their arena. It's a crazy price, but they're probably going to get it. So there's that. They want the $6 billion because they want expansion teams in Seattle and Vegas. And then Mexico City's kind of looming as a third team, but they want to get $6 billion apiece for the two franchises for expansion, which would mean a check of $400 million to every NBA owner, all 30, right? So they're trying to establish a price with the Celtics team. And the Celtics themselves, the Grossbeck family, because the dad of the majority owner, Wick, is driving the sale. And there's no favorites.
He's like 90, right?
He's 90. He's a legend. He's going to 25 times what he paid for the team. And he just wants the highest price. He's not like, oh, these local guys, let's cut him. He doesn't care. He wants the biggest price he could possibly get. And in the last few days, there's been some, I think, legitimate buzz about Jeff Bezos buying the Celtics. And I think it's real. I think he's going to be one of the suitors. Which got me thinking, why would Jeff Bezos, when he's looking at the Celtics, what is he seeing? What does he want? And I think the only way it makes sense, I mean, granted, he has a $1 gajillion, but it's one of the crown jewel franchises, right? That's why you get it. Like to him, it would be no different than if he bought this famous, gigantic $300 million yacht. But I think it's real that he's potentially in the mix for this. Yeah, let's say you're Bezos. Because I'm really trying to figure out, like, if this is like really for real, he's going to be the owner of the Celtics. Like, what is that going to look like?
But how will it look differently? Explain to me how it will look differently. What will happen?
Oh no, I'm just saying for him.
Okay.
What's the win for him to own? Because he kicked the tires with the Washington football team too, which is not, I don't think, as high in the crown jewel rankings. If you own the Celtics, you know, Boston's pretty rabid sports city. You're going to have to spend money to take it seriously. So why would you do it? And then I was thinking, well, their arena, their lease is like 8-9 more years. Is the play for him some sort of Amazon stadium? Like we're already kind of seeing this with Ballmer and some of these other, like these touchless stadiums where you just go in and grab things and walk out. Is the ultimate play for this to build some sort of state-of-the-art stadium that's never been done before for concerts and for basketball, and it's like the Amazon Dome, and you put it like in downtown Boston, and then that just becomes another thing he did?
I mean, it's an interesting question. I mean, like, I know you love the Rolling Stones, right? We talk about the Rolling Stones sometimes. And a lot of times when the Rolling Stones come up in conversation, there is a fairly obvious question asked. It's like, why are they still doing this? Like, what is the purpose of them to still tour? Why are their tickets still that expensive? Why are they trying, and the idea initially, a lot of times people asking that question, they see it totally as a question of greed. Like, why are Mick and Keith so greedy that they're still trying to like make all this money at the end of their life? I mean, Mick Jagger said he doesn't want to give his money to his kids, so what's he doing? Well, I suppose it might have something to do with almost like a video game mentality. Like it's just the number itself. It's just like, it's amazing that I can earn this money. I can't spend it. I'll have the new relationship to this money. It will just go into, a basic computer screen or my phone screen saying this is how much money I have. There's nothing Mick Jagger can't buy now. There's nothing that's outside of his, I would think even if he wanted to have political power or whatever, he would have achieved enough to do that. So with Bezos buying the Celtics, it's like, what? I mean, it's like, what else is he supposed to do with his money? I mean, once you have $70 billion or you're valued at $75 billion and you're not even really spending that money, people are giving you that money to pay for something that you're not, it's like they're just using your wealth as sort of collateral. It's a completely fictional world. I don't know if we can like you're kind of, I guess, expressing that you think that he has like a motive for doing this. Like,
no, I don't really know I have a thought on Jagger, and then I can answer the Bezos thing. I don't think it's about money for the Rolling Stones anymore. I think
But
I think
definitely
people,
not. It would make
no,
no
I think
sense if it
for,
was.
I think people like him and Springsteen, they kind of feel like this is what keeps them alive. And the moment they stop doing this, they're just going to drop dead. So they keep doing it because the energy they get from the concerts is what keeps them going. I don't, I don't, I
Well, I'm
don't
sure
think
it
it's a
feels great.
financial
I'm
thing at
sure. I
all.
mean, it feels like if you give a speech in front of 150 people and you do a great job and they really laugh, it feels great. I can't imagine what that must feel like for them. There must also be, though, sort of a weird kind of cognitive dissonance with him recognizing that what people are cheering and clapping for in a way has nothing to do with what he's doing that night. It sort of has to do with like his career, his life, what they think, it means to be a Rolling Stone fan, what they think it means to be a fan in a public event. Although that, in some ways, that could be just as satisfying.
Well,
Like
think
maybe he
about
feels
like,
like
well, let's say John Lennon never gets shot. Would the Beatles have had reunion concerts?
I think that there is a sense that they would have reunited at Live Aid. I think that there's a lot of people who believe that because of the cause of Live Aid, there would have been a real push from George to want to do it. And a lot of times when George wanted to do something like
Yeah.
go to India, they did it, even though he was like the third most important guy. And yet they seem to kind of agree with a lot of his ideas sometimes on things we should do. So I think that they probably would have reunited at Live Aid. And
It's a
then
fun thought process or a
and then
fun
with
thought experiment.
and and the bands who did reunite at Live Aid, like Zeppelin and Black Sabbath and stuff, that did eventually lead them to reuniting. So if he had lived, that it probably does happen. I think that there probably would have been a Beatles reunion because it's like kind of Paul sort of disappeared in the '80s, like Wings ended and he wasn't really
Did
touring a lot.
Michael
It
Jackson
was
stuff.
like it was yeah. It was yes, yeah. I know. Lennon lost all. Then talks to Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson buys all the songs. Probably real frustrating. But so there was this period where I think
Smart
that the
move.
Beatles would have been like, well, what? Who are we now? Are we just guys who used to be in the Beatles? And I think that it probably could have. Like, I definitely don't think because they didn't. The amount of animosity among the Beatles kind of peaked in 1970 and decreased from that point. I mean, it's like, Lennon wrote like "How Can You Sleep" and all those songs. Like they were kind of criticizing each other back and forth, but then it would be like George and Ringo would play on those songs, and it seemed like they kind of like it was. It's hard to tell how much those guys actually had animosity toward each other. That wasn't just like I'm kind of sick of being with these people, being associated with them and everything. It's all a business problem. So I think they probably would have reunited if I had to guess.
Well, they definitely still hung out a little bit because there's that famous SNL story about Lennon and McCartney just watching an SNL episode and almost just doing a cold walk-in. On your Bezos question, I think I have the answer. I mean, there's two possibilities, right? One is like, this could be the forefront of some new business venture he's been thinking about with like the next version of the all-time state-of-the-art stadium. Maybe that's a piece of it anyway. If you're Jeff Bezos, nobody's rooting for you at this point. There's no like Bezos fans, right? There's nobody who's like, fucking love Jeff Bezos. So you're at dinner and somebody's like, I fucking love, I've been reading everything about it. I just think he's a genius. I would love to meet him and hang out with him. Jeff Bezos, he's like those super billionaires have just moved into this different realm. You buy the Celtics. What happens when you buy a famous sports team? You become a celebrity in that town. If the team does well, you're beloved. Like you can even see what happened with Wick, the Celtics owner. Like he became the face of the Celtics. He vowed that they were going to win another title. They won it. He was like euphoric at the end.
Absolutely humanized Mark Cuban.
Like Joe Lacob. Who knew who Joe Lacob was? The Warriors owner. Like you go on down the line, and then conversely, if somebody's a terrible owner or a reviled owner, it actually makes things way worse for them, like somebody like Daniel Snyder. So with Bezos, like, it's a little bit of a heat check where it's like, if I own the Celtics and I spend money and we do a great job and we pop in and all of a sudden there's some sort of subtle shift, you become more human.
Yeah.
Maybe that's the other piece.
And it's just this, you spend a huge chunk of your life acquiring this wealth. And I would guess you'd be like, well, I want to do something that is interesting to somebody who doesn't write for Fortune magazine or whatever. Like, you know, like
Right.
that people are just, that are I would certainly, I think if I was as wealthy as him, I probably would attempt to buy a sports franchise. I just simply because I don't know what else I would do. Right. Like, I'm not sure what else I would spend this money on. You can, I mean, part of what makes a rich guy is that their main enjoyment is not spending money, but watching it accrue. And maybe I would be that way. I would just want to see it accrue. I think, like when I talk about the Stones, I think that's part of it. I think that they're not interested in spending their money, but sort of like amazed. It was like, look at this, how much money we have. Look at what
Right.
we made from playing. You know, we played these simple songs that are great, and people loved them so much, and we didn't stop. And now we have, like, isn't it? Look at that number. You know. But I had this thing about Bezos. I had not heard that at all. Like, this is news to me that he, you know, but
Well,
it doesn't shock me. Like, you know,
yeah. Well, that, I mean, I guess I'm kind of reporting it.
Does he like does he like sports? Do we know anything about that?
I don't know that much. I'm actually going to probably read some Bezos stuff because it does seem like it's a possibility. It's interesting because I thought the minority owner was going to get it. Steve Pagluca, he put this group together. He already owns a big chunk of the team. But if somebody comes in and makes some crazy offer, like, who the hell knows? And that's what happens over and over again with these sports franchises. It's what happened with the Clippers. Everyone thought Rick Caruso was going to get it. The guy who built all the malls around here, the outdoor malls. And then Ballmer's just like, oh, I want it. And all of a sudden he's paying $2 billion for it. So, but it's all connected with what they want from the expansion teams and all this $6 billion price. They want to get to that price and above. That's what Irv Grousbeck, the 90-year-old guy who owns the biggest stake of the Celtics, who started this process, he wants the biggest price. So we'll see what a big crown jewel of the Celtics are. We're about to find out.